Hey friends, how's everyone doing today? Hope you're all having an amazing and super productive day so far. Not sure how this is going to go today. I'm trying to switch things up a little bit and do these live broadcasts from the comfort of my office, but I've been challenged with my lighting. My lighting seems really strange. I've just gotten tired of fighting with it, and now my internet connection seems to be a bit sketchy. So if you lose me, know that I'll be back in very short order. But welcome. I see people hopping on so far, and because my lighting is all out of whack today, I'm actually kind of blinded. So I've got my laptop here beside me. Part of the reason I want to start doing my live broadcasts from my office is so that I can actually see who's hopping on and maybe engage a little bit more than I normally do when I'm down in the studio. But we'll see how this goes. Like I said, I'm kind of blind right now, so I can't even see who's hopping on, but welcome. Tamie M coming to you from TamieM.com. If we haven't met before, I am an empowerment coach for women. And what I want to talk to you about today is always a super hot topic. I haven't spoken about this one in a while, and I just reached into my files and I pulled out my hot little bullet points from the last time I went live on this subject. And I think it was probably, of all of the live broadcasts that I've done in the last year and a half or so, the one that got hands down the most engagement and hands down the most people reaching out to me in private messages with questions and concerns and needing support and guidance and that sort of thing. So it's obviously a really important topic. And that is how to spot a narcissist. How to spot a narcissist. Narcissist is a word that gets thrown around a lot. Like a number of years ago, it wasn't so common to hear about narcissists and narcissistic abuse and narcissistic abuse recovery and narcissism. And now it seems like people just, throw the word around a lot without even having any sort of real understanding or background as to what it's really all about. And that's cool. Folks don't know what they don't know. But what I want to do today, and I'm going to try for this not to be like an uber long live broadcast, but the truth is, this is a great, big, huge topic, like one that I could talk about for a week straight and probably still not completely cover, right? So, I'm going to go through my bullet points because when it comes to spotting a narcissist, like how do you know if you're actually dealing with a narcissist? Like, are they driving you crazy? There's a lot of things that come into play, but how to know? Well, there's a list of things that are real telltale signs. And if you're a target for people with narcissistic personality disorder or folks who land anywhere on the spectrum, it's really important for you to start to educate and inform yourself so that you can start to protect and take care of yourself. Some of us are more susceptible to attracting narcissists in our lives than others. And like I said, it's a huge topic. There's so much to say on this, but I'm going to try and not go off on too many tangents and stick to the main theme here, which is how to spot them. But do know that, if anything I say triggers you, if anything I say resonates, if anything I say has you left with even more questions about, what's going on with someone in your life, always feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to hear from you. I'm happy to connect with you. I'm happy to answer your questions. We can hop on a free discovery call. I'm happy to do that. And I'll, help, guide you and support you to the best of my ability, which quite frankly, when it comes to this subject, I've got many decades of experience, and I myself have been on my own personal recovery journey for 13 years now. And this is an area where there was a lot of recovery work for me that needed to be done, like for a lot of folks. So I've read a lot of books, I've done a lot of work, I've spoken to a lot of therapists, I've been through a number of programs. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to this subject. So if there's questions left unanswered by the time we get to this live broadcast, or if you want to hop them in, I'm going to try and see if I can you know, pop in and check on my, I don't normally do this on my lives, but I'm going to try and do this. If you have any questions, drop them in there. I don't see too many comments, but I know a bunch of people have hopped on. So guys, if you're tuning in, like, say hello. Drop me a like, a 1 if you're live, a 2 if you're catching the replay, and if you're new to Tamie M and my live broadcast, then let me know you're new and let me know where you're coming in from so I can reach out and say hello. It is social media. We are meant to be social. So drop me some comments. If you have any questions, drop them in there. If I don't get to them during the live, I will either answer them in the comments or PM you with an answer one way or another. So what qualifies me to talk about this subject? Well, I've had a lot of dealings with narcissists in my life. Like, I mean a lot, and not just in one area of my life. She's deceased now, but my biological mother, for example, in my humble opinion, my very well-informed humble opinion and my experience, was a pathological narcissist. My youngest brother, who is also deceased now, was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder by a psychiatrist in the Canadian federal penitentiary system. I've had a number of very narcissistic romantic partners over the years, some more than others. I have had narcissistic mentors. There are varying degrees of narcissists throughout my family of origin that obviously I had to deal with throughout my life. I've had narcissistic colleagues. While building a marketing business, I attracted a few, one major in particular, very narcissistic person. But all of this is to say I've had a lot of experience, and I don't know why I feel such a need to qualify myself on this one. I guess it's, you know, basically like it's such a big subject. So I just want you to rest assured that I'm not just saying this stuff lightly. Like, I'll give you an example. A few weeks ago, I'm scrolling through my newsfeed, and another coach, a codependency coach who I actually rather like a lot of her stuff. And I think that she's, you know, pretty bang on to a large degree, but recently she's made some different comments about narcissists and empaths and what have you that show me that, wow, like, so far off the mark. Like, there's so much misinformation out there, and so many people are so naive around this subject. And this is a big one because highly narcissistic people are extremely dangerous and destructive. So it's, you know, it's important to know what the hell you're talking about when you're talking about this subject, right? And she said something along the lines of, you know, even narcissists need love. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. All human beings, you know, are, you know, of God and need love. But when we're talking about people who are highly destructive, who are highly dangerous, who operate in this world in a way that you and I can't even fathom because they are so disconnected from conscience. They have no conscience in terms of the impact of their behavior on other people. Doesn't even register. All the way to sociopathy, by the way, right? This is a spectrum. So it's not black or white, it's a spectrum. All the way to psychopath and sociopathy, right? So depending on where they land on that spectrum, you may be dealing with someone who just has some narcissistic tendencies, which are going to be clear by the time we get to the end of this live. But you might be dealing with someone who is completely devoid of empathy, any sort of conscience, is so self-serving, so manipulative, so destructive, so dangerous, so toxic that they can absolutely annihilate your life. And I mean that like in no uncertain terms. So to say out there on social media as a coach that even narcissists need love from a distance, okay, from a distance, but that's spoken like someone who really has never been on the receiving end of narcissistic abuse. Only someone who has never actually been on the receiving end of narcissistic abuse could say something like that. Like, obviously you don't have an understanding of just how much damage can be done by a truly narcissistic person. So let's dive into it today. For some reason, oh, okay, they're starting to pop up now. Hannah, how are you, girlfriend? Nice to see you. Thanks for hopping on. Angela, Kate Cox, it helps to hear your recovery is taking a while too. I thought that there was something wrong with me. LOL, I'm recovering from narc abuse as well. You know, one thing I've learned, Kate, is that this is a lifelong journey. Whatever we're recovering from, and like, look, we're human beings on planet Earth. I say it all the time. Most people are either recovering from something or should be, right? So, whatever we're recovering from, whether that's alcoholism, drug addiction, eating disorders, family of origin trauma, narcissistic, which is where a lot of this stuff originates, of course, but, you know, narcissistic abuse recovery, like whatever we're talking about, the truth is we can make huge strides really quickly once we get into an active recovery program. And for me, especially early days, that was a lot of things. That wasn't one tick solution. That was multiple things that really contributed to my healing journey and my recovery from narcissistic abuse, family of origin trauma, like a number of things, right? Codependency recovery, like it all ties in together. So we can make huge strides in early days in particular, but like any addiction, we also can relapse. And it's a lifelong journey. So, you know, understanding that it's a lifelong journey and that there's a lot to be said about that, actually. So again, I'm going to try and keep this under an hour today because it's such a big subject. And with the comments popping up, it might take a little bit longer. So let's get on track here. How to spot a narcissist. How to spot a narcissist. So I'm just going to go through some bullet point notes with you. And I do this, by the way, just to keep my thoughts like straight, because I will go off on tangents, and this helps me stay on task because I really want to bring you the best possible value that I can with this information. If it speaks to you, if that title grabs your attention, you're not on this live for nothing. And again, I'll remind you, like, always feel free to reach out to me with questions, either in the comments or PM me, and, you know, I'm happy to help you, you know, however I can. So, how to spot a narcissist. I'm so blinded from playing with my lighting, trying to get it right, that I can barely see my notes here, but we'll make it through. So again, I'm going to say it's a sliding scale, and even that is a whole conversation in itself, but just understand that it's black or white, right? Like, so not all narcissists understand that it's not black or white, right? So not all narcissists are going to have all of these, and depending on where they land on that scale, they all have more or less. Like, you could be dealing with someone who has some narcissistic traits, doesn't mean they're completely lacking in conscience. It means that they're probably wounded and emotionally unhealed and underdeveloped. You know, like, it's perfectly normal for us to be narcissistic when we're 4 years old. Healthy individuals outgrow that nose in navel narcissism and become you know, have healthy narcissism where there's a balance there. They have a conscience. They understand the impact and care about the impact of their choices, their behavior, the consequences on other people, right? People who have been severely and even moderately wounded, traumatized in early life are folks who tend to not develop in a healthy way in terms of healthy narcissism, and land in adulthood somewhere on that spectrum is kind of the best way I can put that, as I'm going off on a tangent right now. I haven't spoken about this on a live in a while, but it's an important subject. So again, let's dive in. How to spot a narcissist. For starters, they are completely self-absorbed. Completely self-absorbed, like, again, nose and navel. Completely self-absorbed. The world revolves around them. Everything comes back to them. They look at life through that kind of lens. It's always about them. They are highly manipulative. Narcissistic people are highly manipulative. I'm going to do another live broadcast later this week on how to spot manipulative people, how to know when you're being manipulated, because some of us, took me a long time to really wake up to what manipulation was, because I had been so manipulated by my family of origin, one individual in particular, but across the board to a large degree, that my whole concept of it was like inverted. It was upside down. So a big part of the early days of my recovery journey was all about understanding, like, am I being manipulated here? Is that what that is when it was coming at me? Today I see it coming like a mile away. It's a whole other thing. But narcissistic people are highly manipulative. They are compulsive liars. How do you know when a narcissist is lying? Their lips are moving. Like, they will lie even when it's not necessary to lie. They will lie for the sake of lying. They will lie when they know that you know, that they know that you know, that they know that you know what the truth is. There's cold, hard proof right here in your hands, in front of them, in front of everybody, and they'll still lie. Even when they know that you know and you have facts and proof, they'll still lie. They are compulsive liars. They can be incredibly charming and sometimes, but not always, highly intelligent. Incredibly charming. They're very seductive people. They can't emote. They don't emote like, you know, normal civilians with a conscience, a heart, a soul. I know that's harsh, but, you know, they don't emote the same way. So they tend to be highly seductive because that's what they learned at a certain point in their life to be very effective. And often, sometimes, but not always, highly intelligent. Like, I mean, I have a narcissistic ex-boyfriend. It was a very short-lived relationship. Thank God I got out of that as quickly as I did. But he was literally a rocket scientist, like literally a university professor at 2 professors and a rocket scientist, and one of the most, potentially a sociopath. I didn't stick around long enough to find out. It's like in and out of that in 6 weeks. But like, brilliant mind. Probably the closest thing I've come to being involved with a sociopath, full-blown sociopath romantically in my life. I've had some extremely narcissistic romantic partners, but that one was like I said, I was in and out of there fast. So often they're highly intelligent, but not always. I've got some highly narcissistic examples in my history who are, they might be cagey, they might be street smart, but not smart, not highly intelligent people. So it can go either way. They are very grandiose, regardless of their intellect. They are very grandiose. Now they can play humble. They can put the act on in terms of manipulating you. But the truth is, and if you know what you're looking for, they are highly grandiose people. They are very grandiose people. They are, I already said this, highly seductive and will love bomb in the beginning. So if you're coming from a wounded place where you're looking for love outside of yourself, like you are not your own source of self-love, which many of us who grew up in, you know, very dysfunctional family of origin situations, like we don't come into adult life with our self-esteem intact necessarily, right? Like often there's a lot of work that needs to be done to put all of that back together, right? To undo the damage. So if you're walking through life like I was in my 20s, for sure, like unable to be the source of love for myself, of self-love, you're looking for it outside, and then this highly manipulative person, often very attractive, sometimes, often, you know, really intelligent, probably resonates to the person who did, you know, a lot of damage in terms of your family of origin. You may not be consciously aware of it, but there's an emotional and energetic resonance there. There's a match. They show up, you're starved for love, and they're love bombing you. Oh my God, it's like you just finally met your soulmate and the one person you have been waiting your whole life to meet, right? And everything's amazing, usually for about 4 to 6 weeks. And you're ignoring the signs. And then everything turns around, right? And you're like, what the hell is going on? Like, what happened to that amazing person who was love bombing you? That's what that is. Highly seductive, love bombing you in the beginning. And once they know they've got you where they want you, it's a whole other story. And now you're living a nightmare. And you're actually completely biochemically addicted to this individual, by the way. Like I said, this is a huge topic, Where are we? I'm blinded by the light. This is crazy. They are highly seductive and will love bomb you in the beginning, and then it turns around rather quickly. They lack boundaries. A lot of people lack boundaries. Like, it's really empathic and codependent people who are a real match to a narcissist. And, you know, really codependent people, highly codependent people, lack boundaries as well. Like, there's a resonance there. It's like two pieces of a puzzle that fit from opposite ends of the spectrum, right? If you are an unrecovered adult child of anything, alcoholism, addiction, you know, you were sexually abused as a child, you're gonna lack boundaries. And so are they. And thus begins the nightmare, the absolute drama. So for me, talking about, you know, like Kate mentioning, you know, our recovery journey and it being an ongoing process, it kind of never really ends, although things can become so much better so much quickly once you get on the path of recovery. There is hope. Learning to develop internal boundaries was like the real first step, you know, like external and internal for sure, but learning to develop, you know, that boundary of where I end and you begin. When you grow up in a highly dysfunctional, highly toxic family of origin, I mean, no one had any boundaries with you when you were a kid, especially if, like me, you're a survivor of sexual abuse. There were no boundaries. There was a colossal lack of boundaries. So you don't come into adulthood, you know, having this equipment, these tools that other folks who grew up in relatively healthy families have, right? Narcissistic people have no boundaries. Once they've got you where they want you, you know, your bank account, your life, your body, your everything is property to them. And once you wake up and start getting well and you're not playing the game anymore, they'll discard you because, you know, you're of no use to them. Like, it really is that cold and hard and cruel. They will say, speaking of cruel, they will say anything to prove their point or get their way, no matter how bizarre, untrue, or cruel. So, if you're dealing with someone in your life, I don't care who it is, a romantic partner, a spouse, a parent, a sibling, a boss, a colleague, a friend, a neighbor, a child, an adult child, whoever, and they have a tendency to say whatever it takes to be right, to prove their point or get their way, no matter how bizarre, untrue, or cruel, you're dealing with a narcissist. Like, you're dealing with someone who's highly narcissistic. They lack conscience. They have zero empathy for the consequences of their behavior on others. Now, like I said, I'll keep coming back to this. It's a spectrum, right? So I've known some pretty narcissistic people. I had a woman come into my business. Again, thank God that was all short-lived, but it was like a refresher. Like, it was like, holy cow, like, I'm still capable. I don't attract these people into my romantic life anymore, and I'm completely divorced from the family of origin that are so narcissistic, but they can still show up in other areas of my life. And like, she was like a real teacher to remind me, for all that I know and for all that I've lived around this, I can still attract these people, nowhere near like I used to. And I was on to her very, very quickly. But, you know, she was not uber high on the spectrum, because there was a glimmer of a conscience there, sort of, kind of, at a certain point. So I didn't stick around or engage with, I shut the door to that pretty quickly. But there was a conversation that, you know, showed me that I knew she landed on the spectrum, is what I'm trying to say. How far, how high on that spectrum, not sure. I don't, like, I just, once I knew what I was dealing with, I got the hell out of there. All narcissists deserve love. Yeah, from a distance. From a distance. It's like saying all living entities, living sentient beings deserve love, right? Everything that lives. For sure, but you're not going to get into bed with a cobra, right? Why? Because it's dangerous. Well, there are people on our planet who are dangerous, especially if you are someone who is an unrecovered codependent, someone who is highly empathic, wide open, highly sensitive, emotionally sensitive, someone who has a huge open heart and just wants to help and give and hasn't established boundaries. You're lunch for a narcissist. So really, really important that we see this for what it is, educate ourselves and learn how to take care of ourselves, guys. This was information that absolutely revolutionized my life. Absolutely revolutionized my life. So I hope it's helping you guys too. If you're getting some value out of this, by the way, drop a comment. If you're catching it live, drop a 1. If you're catching the replay, drop a 2. And if you're new to my live broadcast, let me know you're new. Let me know where you're coming in from so I can reach out and say hello. And if you hopped on late, know that you can always go back and catch the replay. It'll live on my timeline. So you can always go back and catch the replay anytime it's convenient for you. Next, they will never, ever apologize for poor behavior. Unless, of course, so... got that? They'll never apologize. You have anyone in your life who is like just constitutionally incapable of apologizing, even for like the easiest stuff, right? Like, oops, sorry, I stepped on your toe. Like, constitutionally incapable of apologizing? Radar, red flag, have your antenna up. They will never apologize for poor behavior, unless, of course, they're trying to manipulate you back into the fold. And even then, their feigned remorse is very short-lived. So, if you've had enough, like, this is nuts. I'm tired of the pain, I'm tired of the drama, I'm tired of the chaos, I'm tired of the lies, I'm tired of the insanity, I'm tired of the smear campaigns, I'm tired of it, I'm done, this is crazy, I'm out of here, uncle. Know that they are not going to take that laying down. They will do and say whatever it takes to manipulate you back into the fold, including telling you whatever it is that you want to hear, and that might even be an I'm sorry. But words are easy. Words are easy. If an individual is not capable of following up an I'm so sorry with behavior that matches what can I do to make this right, behavior that matches the words, that's not an individual who's sorry. So even if they do apologize, it's because there's an agenda there. You're being manipulated. And you'll notice that their feigned remorse, because that's what it is, it's feigned, will be very short-lived. Next, they gaslight you. This is fun. This is fun. How many of us have lived this? And those of us who come from traumatic family of origins have lived a lot of this. It started really young. They cause you to doubt your reality. They cause you to doubt your reality. This is one of the cruelest, most awful things that people do to people. Hurt them, mistreat them, and then minimize it, diminish the impact, make like it never happened. I never said that. I never did that. Gaslight you, cause you to doubt your reality. It's crazy making and awful. I have another list here. And some of it I've already said, but I'm going to run through it. They tell blatant lies. We were already talking about that. They deny they ever said something even though you have proof. We already talked about that. They use what is near and dear to you as ammunition. They use what is near and dear to you as ammunition. They know how to hurt you. They know what to say to get right in there. They wear you down over time. Their actions do not match their words, like ever. Ever. They throw in positive reinforcement to confuse you. And it's confusing. It's confusing. When someone who claims to love and adore you while they're love bombing you and, be your soulmate, or, a parent who's supposed to love and adore you and care for you, treats you with the most incredible cruelty, disregard, crazy making behavior, and then occasionally throws you a crumb for positive reinforcement. They know confusion weakens people. They know confusion weakens people. That's why they do it. They project. Oh my God, they project. It's a big one. So again, this is a huge topic, right? And I'm probably going to be talking a lot more about it because I'm working with, every coach needs a coach, and I happen to have like the best darn business coach on the freaking planet. And he's really got me doing work where I am pulling my soul mission and purpose out of me and focusing on that. And it's pretty clear that this is an area where I can have tremendous impact and do a lot of good and be of tremendous service. Sharing my story, sharing what I've learned, sharing what I know, sharing my expertise, sharing what's worked to heal me. No question. Kind of lost my train of thought there. So I'm going to be talking about this more. That's what I was saying. I will be talking about this more for sure, as well as some other really, really important subjects that I understand really well. A, because I've lived them, and B, because I've been on a recovery journey around these things for a long freaking time now. So I've got a lot of tools that I think a lot of you will find helpful. All of that is to say, this is a huge subject. Projection in itself is a huge subject. I could do a great big huge live just on that. But just know that when you've got someone attacking you and they're screaming stuff at you, as an example, and they don't always project via screaming, but when someone is like intense, high negative emotion attacking you, chances are very high they are projecting. They are projecting what it is that they don't like, can't accept, can't acknowledge, can't own about themselves onto you. An example, I have an uncle I've been estranged from for almost, 2 decades or more now, thank God. And, who was a professional thief, who accused me of being a thief and caused this major family drama. He had been a professional thief his whole life, probably still is to this day. An example, projection. Other folks in my life, my mother, who is now deceased, who was for sure a pathological narcissist, would say things about me that were so far removed from who I actually am, ever have been, ever could be, but were very much in alignment with all the stuff that she didn't want, all the secrets that she didn't want anyone to know about her. She would project them onto me for the limited opportunities that she had to do so, because I, learned to love myself enough to get the hell out of there. Unfortunately for me, I wasn't raised under her roof. So, the damage that she was done was more that she was able to do was more by omission than commission. But nonetheless, like the projection. And unfortunately, they're also masters at smear campaigns. So when you're not behaving the way they want you to behave, what they do, if they can't control you, If they can't control you, they will do whatever it takes to control how everybody else can see you. And that can be excruciatingly painful. Excruciatingly painful. But again, there's hope. You can grow to a place of just, I'm not going to say you don't care, but like I'm at a place today where, I got a half-sister out there walking around believing a bunch of stuff that is like so far removed from reality in terms of who I am. I can't control that. Light and love, peace, sister. Like what can I say to that? What can I say to that, right? And a long list of examples. And those of you who are really resonating with this information today have your own examples of how when you've decided to take a stand or draw a line in the sand or a boundary or, not engage or play the game, and it becomes clear that you're not so easy to manipulate anymore, they will then manipulate how others see you, and they will say whatever it takes, no matter how bizarre, untrue, or cruel. And we have to, the only real antidote to this, guys, this is why I say I teach radical self-love. I teach radical self-love fundamentally, because the only antidote to this insanity that so many of us on this planet have lived is building up your own sense of self-worth and self-esteem and clarity and self-love, being your own source of love first. Then you can go out into the world and attract healthy love and give healthy love. But it all starts there, right? Off on a tangent. So they project. That's a big one. I'm going to have to do a live, I think, on that subject alone. I'm a student of A Course in Miracles. It's, I love the word. I love scripture. A Course in Miracles over the years has become my all-time favorite spiritual text. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It really resonates with me, but it really helped me understand at a very high level the extent to which we project. We all do it, but we can become conscious, and when you're healed, you don't have all this nasty garbage and these secrets and all this awful stuff to project. You're carrying light and love, so you're projecting differently, and you can wake up to the fact that we all do this, and therefore stop doing it. Stop doing it. That's a whole other live. Coming very soon, my friends. You guys getting some value out of this? Are you liking this? Drop me a comment, let me know. Again, drop me a comment or send me a PM if you have any specific questions. What else do I have here? They align people against you, gathering the troops. They can't manipulate you, they can't control you, so they'll go out into the family, into the office, the workplace, into the social circles, whoever will listen, quite frankly, whatever little minions they can gather, they'll gather the troops and align people against you. Families do this all the time, and it's horribly abusive. Horribly abusive. And again, the antidote to this, guys, is radical self-love, extreme self-care, radical self-love. Learn to support yourself in every possible way and get on your own healing journey. And then you become bulletproof. It's a beautiful way to live, let me tell you. It's a beautiful way to live. Not entirely. We're human beings with feelings. I can't say my feelings never get hurt anymore, but compared to where I was 25 years ago, I don't even recognize. It's like a completely different human being. You can become predominantly bulletproof, and that's a good place to be. They tell you or others that you're crazy. They tell you or others that you're crazy. They tell you everyone else is a liar. They tell you everyone else is a liar. The smear campaign, when a narcissist can no longer control you, they control how others see you. And the important thing to remember here, folks, this is like critical, key, great, big, huge, that you hear this and get this. Write it down, repeat it, put it on your mirror, tattoo it on your forehead. The important thing to understand here, if we're talking about a true blue dyed-in-the-wool narcissist, this end of the spectrum, they don't change. No matter what they say, no matter what, they do not change. Broke my heart second time around in my adult life when I had to walk away from my biological mother. I found out last November by accident that the woman died 7 months earlier. Pretty heartbreaking, right? But I've got a lot of peace around that, truly, because I've done a lot of work and I did the forgiveness work. So thank God that I was in that place when I found that out. Broke my heart second time around when I had to walk away from her and just truly accept that a relationship was not going to be an option with this woman who was my mother, for crying out loud, that I had longed for my whole entire life. Wasn't going to be possible because she was so pathologically narcissistic that she is beyond what therapy or treatment would ever be able to do in terms of healing her. There is such a split there in the unconscious mind. They are beyond what treatment or therapy would be able to do. So look, again, spectrum. So if we're talking about an unrecovered codependent who has narcissistic personality traits, you get them into recovery, that's a whole other conversation. I'm talking about true blue, dyed-in-the-wool narcissist, high on the spectrum, lacking in conscience, very high. And there's quizzes that you can do online to determine where people fall based on your experience of them. So people who are high on the spectrum, they are not going to change. They are not going to change. And it's important that you understand this and that you come to a place of accepting it. That might not be instantaneous. That might take some time for you to get to a place of accepting it, and that's okay. It's all about loving yourself, being gentle with yourself, learning to take care of yourself. But accepting reality and the truth of the matter is really critical on a recovery journey. It really is critical. And if you're holding out hope that the narcissistic father of your children, or your narcissistic parent, or your narcissistic boss, or your narcissistic best friend, whoever it is going to someday hear you if you scream loud enough, if you rage enough, if you lose your mind enough, if you whatever enough, they will someday hear you. All of that energy, turn it around and pour it into healing and loving and informing and recovering yourself, because people can go as far as dying trying to affect change on someone who is highly narcissistic. Like, it can be that sick of a dynamic, that crazy making, that it ends in that fashion. Like, it can be that bad. Like, this is a real issue. Again, not black or white, right? But just know that the chances of this person changing and showing up as who you, in your mind, in your fantasy world, know they could be as you project your good stuff onto them. And you've got this idea, this illusion of what the relationship could be. If that's not necessarily dealing in reality, it's probably not dealing in reality. So just know that the likelihood of change there, slim to none. And your job is to take care of you. And your kids, but you got to take care of you to be able to take care of your kids, right? Your job is to take care of you and love you and nurture you. Understand that when we're coming from a wounded place, with all of our empathy, with all of our codependency, with all of our maladaptive ways, we are like magnets to these people. And the more unwell we are on our end of the spectrum, the more we attract folks who are high on that end of the spectrum. And it's magnetic, it's energetic. I don't have to tell you how painful and crazy making it is, right? And it's an addiction. there's actually biochemical processes that are taking place in your brain, in your nervous system. There's a lot to the subject, guys. The programming we received in the first 7 years of our lives, all of it. So there's withdrawal, just like coming off of heroin. Like there's a lot, you know, that comes into play. But it all begins with focusing on our own recovery journey, learning to heal and take care of ourselves so that we can become the source of love that we are meant to be for ourselves. And then we can go out into the world and be a source of love for everyone else in our lives. And the world reflects back to us what we carry internally. So if this is what you're engaged with and what's showing up on your radar, you can blame them and their shitty behavior and all of it, all you want, but the world is a mirror reflecting back to us what we carry. So the work really is inside of us. And let me tell you, for someone who's, you know, been on the path for quite a number of years now and has done a lot of the work, it's work worth doing. It's work worth doing. Today, I see them coming. I don't attract them in my personal life. I'm in love with the man of my dreams. And we've been together just over 3 years. And we have the most peaceful, harmonious, loving, respectful. We were talking about it last night, like what our relationship is like relative to what we've both lived in the past and what we know goes on out there. I work as a coach. We, you know, what we know goes on out there. It's possible to get to that place, guys, where you can attract that quality of healthy love into your life, but the work begins inside. If we're not doing that work inside first, it's going to be very difficult for us to attract that into our lives. So how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? That's really what it boils down to. Guys, I'm going to call it a wrap because, like I said, I could talk about this one for a week, and I may just, but we'll have to take a break for 24 hours or so. So I hope you got some value out of this. I apologize for my crazy lighting. I really don't know what's going on, but I wanted to have an opportunity to go live from my laptop and maybe engage a little bit, which didn't actually happen, but I'm going to get in there and check out all the comments. PM me if you need to. I'm actually about to create a program for folks who suffer in this regard, women in particular. You know, I feel called to serve women in particular. So be on the lookout for that. Reach out to me if there's anything I can do to help you. I have a phenomenal Facebook group, Freedom Warriors. I would love to invite you to come and join that. If you're a woman suffering from anything that we have discussed today, there's a lot of good material in there, and I'll be adding more and more value over time in that group. So with that, I'm going to call it a wrap. I hope you guys got some value out of it. If you liked what you heard, don't be shy to like, comment, and or share. And once again, my name is Tamie M. I'm an empowerment coach for women. And as always, I will leave you with this. Know your value. Know your value and unlock your freedom. Mwah. Much love, guys. Bye for now.